In this video, I'm going to share the 10 most common grammar mistakes that English learners make. And if you don't recognize them, if you don't see the mistakes that you're making, then you can't fix them, can you? I want you to see it in your writing so that you can correct yourself. And then when you start doing that, you'll naturally be correcting yourself when you speak. So what are the 10 most common grammar mistakes that English learners make? Number 1, uncountable nouns. The way that you use uncountable nouns in English sentences is completely different to countable nouns. Let's just compare apple, a countable noun, and advice, an uncountable noun. I have an apple for you. I have a piece of advice for you. How many apples do you have? How much advice do you have? I have a few apples for you. I have a little advice for you. It's not just the noun that's important. The type of noun affects many other words in your sentence. So using the wrong words with the uncountable noun in an English sentence is a really common mistake. Mistake number 2, irregular verbs. Now, these are also really common English mistakes. Difficult to master because there are no rules that you can learn to logically explain why one verb is regular and the other is not. Even though there are fewer irregular verbs than regular verbs, many irregular verbs are really common verbs. You can't escape them. You need to learn them. Number 3, subject-verb agreement. That car looks expensive. Those cars look expensive. Paul is looking out the window. John and Tim are looking out the window. Do those students like to eat bananas? Does this student like to eat bananas? Common mistake number 4, auxiliary verbs. Yes, the 3 main auxiliary verbs in English: do, be, and have. They're very important, and learning a little more about them is going to help you improve your English grammar a lot. Because the relationship between an auxiliary verb and the main verb in an English sentence is very clear and simple. The auxiliary verb do appears in the simple tenses. The auxiliary verb be appears in the continuous tenses and also in the passive voice. And the auxiliary verb have appears in the perfect tenses. Mistake number 5, articles. Which one should you use? The is the definite article. A and an are indefinite articles. If you asked me, can you pass me a pen? That means any of these pens, not a specific one. But if you asked me, can you pass me the blue pen? That only means this pen, none of the others. But sometimes you don't need to use an article at all. Number 6, prepositions. Words like in, on, at, by, with, for, you get my point. These words, they help to give information about time, location, and direction in English. Sometimes the same preposition can have different meanings depending on the context. If your keys are in the car, the meaning is different to at the car. But if you're in school, the meaning is pretty much the same as at school. I had a coffee at Helen's, that means at her house. Or I had a coffee with Helen, that means we had a coffee together, but it could have been anywhere. We can go shopping this afternoon? What you are cooking for dinner? Word order in English questions is a common grammar mistake, that English questions are really consistent. They follow a clear structure. Question word, auxiliary verb, subject, and your main verb. If you remember these words in this order, your questions should always be correct. Mistake number 8, lucky 8. The present perfect tense. Now, this tense is a challenging one. There's the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. You can also use the words for and since with these tenses. So it's confusing because this tense is about the past and the present at the same time. The difference between the past simple and the present perfect tense. So expressions of time are really important when you're using these two different tenses. Yesterday, last week, last month, 1991, these are all examples of finished time. Time that's complete. So you would use the past simple. But when you're thinking about a time period that is unfinished, like today, this week, this month, my life, use the present perfect. Again, I'll go over this with you during the challenge. Lastly, mistake number 10. When do you use adjectives that end in ed and ing? There is a big difference between he looks bored and he looks boring. I am interested, or I am interesting. There doesn't seem to be much difference between these adjectives, but using them incorrectly in your sentence completely changes the meaning. Bye for now.